Howard gets it in, but it's knocked away by Lexie Hull. Hull with the steal. And the Indiana Fever, beset by major injuries all year long, are on the doorstep of making the semifinals.
Let's call it what it was, a gut check moment. Win or go home. With 6 players sidelined, frustration boiling over from officiating drama, and zero room for mistakes, the Indiana Fever faced the ultimate test. Could they handle the pressure and rise to the occasion? In Game 3 of the WNBA playoffs against the Atlanta Dream, they answered with a resounding yes. Kelsey Mitchell took control in crunch time, Aaliyah Boston battled relentlessly in the paint, and Lexie Hull delivered the play of a lifetime. Together, they powered the Fever into the semifinals, their first trip since 2015. Now the real question. Was this just a flash of brilliance, or the beginning of a new era for Indiana? Sound off in the comments. How proud are you of this team? Let's go, Fever.
We've just been through so much this season, giving ourselves another chance in Game 3. Emotions are high.
This is a group that's confidence has really never wavered. This group has continued to show their heart, their character, night in and night out.
Within our group and our organization,
We've been in every kind of situation you can imagine, and we've been able to find ways to put ourselves in position to win, and this will be no different.
somebody has to lose.
Imagine enduring nearly a decade without a single playoff series win. That kind of drought doesn't just live in the record books. It lingers in the locker room, shadows the franchise, and presses on every player who puts on the jersey. The last time the Indiana Fever made it this far, Tamika Catchings was still the soul of the team. Natasha Howard was just getting her start. Stephanie White? She was leading from the sidelines in her first head coaching role. That was 2015, a different era, a different league. Fast forward to now, Game 3 wasn't just about basketball. It was about the weight of history knocking once more, asking this new generation if they were ready to answer.
Of the desperation before Game 2 on Tuesday, just how does that carry over into tonight?
I think anytime that you're a win or go home situation, there's desperation. And so it has to carry over. We're in the same situation. Our back is against the wall. We got to come out and we've got to play with that sense of urgency. We've got to play with that hunger. We've got to value every single possession and every single opportunity.
What made the moment even more intense was the state of the Fever's roster. Just think about it. Caitlin Clark sidelined. Sophie Cunningham out. Sydney Colson unavailable. Chloe BBY, Ari McDonald, and Damiris Dantas all on the injury report. That's a massive loss of experience, leadership, and offensive firepower. Gone. Suddenly, this wasn't just another playoff game. It became a do-or-die battle with a roster that had to squeeze every ounce of talent, grit, and chemistry just to stay in the fight. From the outside, no one was betting on them. But maybe that's exactly what gave them the edge. In the absence of expectations, they found freedom. They had no stars to lean on, only each other. And in that pressure cooker moment, they didn't fold, they fought.
This one on Lexie Hull got me riled up because this was early on in the game, and this was probably the best defense that Lexie could have played. If you watch this play here, Ryan Howard is going down. Lexie Hull's guarding her. Ryan goes behind her back. Lexie doesn't touch her because she's backpedaling the whole time. She has her hands straight up. Like, this is really good defense that Lexie played here.
And who could forget how Game 1 unfolded? A barrage of questionable whistles, momentum-crushing calls, and even a technical foul on their head coach. The frustration inside that arena wasn't subtle. You could feel it through the screen. The Fever didn't just remember it, they internalized it. They carried that sting, that sense of injustice, and turned it into fuel. This wasn't just about advancing. It was about reclaiming their respect after being denied a fair shot just nights earlier. This time, they weren't asking for it. They took it.
The Fever are heading to the semifinals.
Driving to the foul line and the paint, lays it in. Sims crossover left to right, gets into the paint, layup, good.
Inside, Boston.
Before the game even tipped off, the tone had already been set.in pregame interviews. Kelsey Mitchell appeared locked in, calm, composed, as if she already knew the weight she'd carry on offense. Aaliyah Boston spoke with quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need volume to be felt. She was ready for the battle in the paint, a battle she couldn't afford to lose. On the other side stood a fully healthy Atlanta squad, backed by home court energy and momentum. From the outside, the scales looked anything but balanced. The crowd at Gateway Center Arena was geared up to shut the Fever down and send them packing. But this wasn't just about facing the dream. Indiana was staring down something much bigger. A decade of playoff heartbreak, 6 critical injuries, and the persistent narrative that they simply couldn't break through. And in the heart of that storm, they made a decision. They chose fight over fear. Which brings us to the real question. Can a few defining moments from a few determined players rewrite the ending to a story that's been stuck on pause for nearly 10 years?
To Jones. Throws it up.
No good! Game over!
The Fever found themselves in the kind of moment that defines entire seasons. Late in Game 3, trailing on the scoreboard and engulfed by the deafening roar of nearly 4,000 Atlanta fans, every possession carried the weight of everything they'd been through. The battles, the injuries, the doubt. It all came crashing into those final minutes. The crowd could feel it. They were loud, hungry, ready to watch Indiana crack under the pressure. But the Fever didn't fold. They leaned on the same players who had carried them all year. And one by one, those players stepped into the fire. Not away from it. Into it.
Picked up her second foul, so Hillman and Gray each with 2. Mitchell over the Boston screen.
And that was tough, her hands. But going back to that ball screen here, little movement in the first part of that screen by Aaliyah Boston.
Mitchell, man, she is so good.
Kelsey Mitchell was the heartbeat that kept Indiana alive. Atlanta knew the assignment. Crowd her at every touch, clog the paint, send help on every drive. Still, Mitchell dropped 24 points, refusing to be silenced. Even more impressive? 19 of those came before halftime, delivering the kind of early burst that keeps a road team from unraveling. As the Dream tightened their defense and collapsed on her lanes, Mitchell adjusted. She dished out assists, chased down blocks, whatever it took to keep the Fever's momentum from slipping. Scoring under that kind of pressure isn't easy. Most players fade. Mitchell didn't. She kept attacking, and that relentless energy lit a fire under her teammates. In a game where every possession mattered, her refusal to back down became the rallying point Indiana needed.
From the outside and now the inside. Now Mitchell's been quiet for a while. Not anymore. Mitchell over to Boston. Again, the shot clock winding down. Mitchell, tough shot off the bounce to get around Jones.
2 steps behind the 3-point line and the dribble handoff for Kelsey.
Inside the paint, Aaliyah Boston was quietly carving out her own narrative. Matched up against the physically imposing Brianna Jones, Boston absorbed contact possession after possession. She took the hits, held her ground, and never let her composure crack. On paper, Jones had the size advantage. But Boston didn't need to overpower her. She outsmarted her. With sharp timing, smart positioning, and a growing mastery of when and where to seal her defender, she turned a potential mismatch into a stalemate. It wasn't flashy. It was fundamental. And it was exactly what Indiana needed.